Hi everyone. This topic today is going to be for everyone who ever was abused, misused, taken advantage of on every possible level. So I'm going to talk about financial abuse by those so-called gurus, esoteric gurus that tell you something and you cannot really check it out because you don't know the subject and you are desperate and trying to find help for your case. Emotional, physical. So I'm going to talk also about the rape and taking physical advantage of someone and why this is happening, about human rights when we are taken advantage of, why is it happening and what to do about it. So this is just a short, very hopefully precise remedies about the subject and the matter, but you're going to be the judge of that. I will try to do it as much as possible, concrete, precisely, and straight to the point. So there are reasons, and I'm doing that because there are still lots of people, especially Polish people, who are writing me about the worst case scenario when they paid quite a lot of money for those esoteric sessions. And there were some, of course, from different countries, the Russian ladies who were raped or abused in another form, very much emotionally and so on. So this is why I'm doing that. So if you know someone that you know this will help, please pass this message, because I find it pretty important and I gave a lot of chapters about it in my books. Although paranormal, I still touch on those social matters and the reasons. I got a little bit of notes to make it very, very clear. So I'm now gonna get to the point, I promise. So the reasons why we are allowing someone else to take advantage of that on so many levels is because of lacking our self-worth. And as much as you are living in your country and you're not immigrant, it's worse for immigrants, but it can also happen in your native country when you're not feeling valued, appreciated by the society from different reasons, the social, the cultural, money, financial part, etc. So the self-worth, I find it the most important ones, that we are making wrong kind of decisions. And this subject is very, very close to my heart, because when I was writing those books about the Oracle series, I, as an immigrant, I had a feeling I'm less than nobody, less than a zero. So some of you are writing me that right now, and this is incredible. How many people, how many young women are feeling that, but not only very, very young. This is happening actually in every age, and it is still happening. And I had no idea that this is such a big, huge topic, and probably because not so many people are talking about that. So that is the one. And the other one is lack of connection to your subconscious mind. In many cultures, you can call it subconscious, you can call it little me, you can, however you are calling that. This is this part of you that is highly feeling, emotional, and sensing, and functioning completely differently than the logic side of you. So you have it in psychology. Awareness, consciousness, subconsciousness, and intuitive mind. You have it in Huna as little me, middle me, and higher me. I have no idea how to translate that one in English because I was studying Huna in Polish language, but you probably know what I'm talking about if you find those three levels always in every culture. And most of us, we are programmed by our upbringing, education, to only pay attention to this logic mind, to telling us what to do. And this, of course, should be taught in a primary school, but often it is not. If we don't have this access to our subconscious mind, and someone else who is a great conman, and doesn't matter is it on what level. Any predator will take advantage of that, because if you do not talk to yourself, if you do not pay attention to yourself, if you're not praising yourself, the predator will, and your subconsciousness, guess what, will follow the predator. You won't even know why. It's because of that. The other reason why we are falling for many things that are harmful for us is because we do not know our rights in current country. We do not know the law, and the law is changing, upgrading constantly. So that is another reason, and only that we have to find a new way, new attitude. And Polish people are currently doing that. They're creating groups where they see how the system works, something that is not working properly. And it is not about fighting for it. It is simply about seeing how it works and understanding that they are forced to be sort of, I cannot probably use that word here because it has a different connotation, especially in English language. But I'm talking about a slavery system that is imposed on many cultures and forced into the system that you never chose for yourself. That I'm not going to get into that deeply right now, but not knowing your rights makes you dependent and makes you follow blindly what was programmed into your upbringing and how you should function in society. So for example, especially for American people, if they pay lots of money for their school, university, and they have to pay it back probably till the end of their life, because they never tend to make enough money and live on the credits. So this is wrong, and Polish people are currently creating the groups to find a way and see what are the better ways to deal with that part. Another one is not knowing why is it happening with so many people taking still advantage of us. It's not knowing your enemy. If we look at people thinking that people are good, that there are no cruel people there, and it's happening all the time. There are cruel people out there for many reasons, and I will get to that. But if we do not know their dynamic, how they function, and how to recognize them, this is why it's happening, the abuse part. And the fourth one is a little bit more esoteric, and you can call it like a karma, or you meant to meet someone. You cannot release yourself from someone or from the situation. It's circling back in your life and you just cannot get rid of it. So psychobiology talks about DNA and programming coming from your ancestors that are making you follow in a certain traps. There is the karma portrayed more as a law of cause and effect. If you met someone in another past lifetime, for example, there is a belief that in this one you have to pay off your debt or such a sort of thing, or just there was a started process that never ended in a proper way, and it tries to finish this lifetime for both of you. So this is more esoteric approach. I'm not gonna get into that one, because the most important one is starting from the I, from the me part, especially that it's happening what's happening. For example, in Poland right now there is this great and actually terrible, considering the content, documentary about human trafficking by filmmaker Patrick Vega, and he's showing exactly the dynamic, how it works with predators and who's falling for that and why that is even happening. And he's actually making a bigger change. I hope this is going to be translated into English language so you can watch it, some of you, but this is for those who are not only interested in the topic and how to prevent it and want to do something about it, but also for strong nerves, because it is affecting psychologically, definitely. So these are the 4 reasons why people are taken advantage of. Now I'm going to talk about what to do. So if you are immigrant or not even immigrant, but you recognize that you are falling into traps, you were lied to, you were taken advantage of from any of the levels I mentioned already, the most important thing is to establish connection to yourself, whether you say it's lower self or subconscious mind. And most of us, we are not trained into talking to yourself. And I'm actually meaning that. So basically, as much as you talk to your friends, calling your friends every day, hanging on the phone, please, that's the first step. Talk to yourself. I know it sounds weird, but when you ask yourself those questions, how do you feel today? What do you need? The subconscious mind has completely different language, and it starts from the symbols, from the little whispers in your ears, and subconscious mind is enormously connected with intuitive part of you, and this is how you can slowly start to build up the connection. A lot of people do that with a therapist, specialist, qualified for that kind of work, of course, and not a random esoteric gurus. So this is when desperate people are falling into trap that someone with 3 minutes of using pendulum will clear out everything negative and bad from your life. This is not going to happen, and these people are actually asking for lots of money. So be aware of that. And if you find yourself in this situation, first of all, start asking yourself daily questions about what do you need, what you're aiming for, what also is your shadow, so your weak, I would not even say weak spots, but spots like something that you're really lacking in life, because what you're lacking most, the predator will actually feel it, even if you deny it. Your subconscious mind will give impulses through your body, through your expression, behavior, nonverbal communication that predator is trained to pick up. So it will actually make you talk to you the way that will be promising that, and it's always talking to your subconscious mind. Anyone who wants to lie to you or convince you to something that is criminal, not good for you, will be talking to your subconscious mind, not to you, not to your logic part. And usually people are losing their mind. They telling me later that they didn't really know why they acted like that. It was not logic, it was not reasonable, something within them. So what acted in those situations was a subconscious mind that hoped for something or was scared of something. And this is the most important thing to establish within a therapist on a longer sessions, that connection. So you learn the language with yourself, first your subconscious, then your sub-personalities, and you learn how to protect yourself verbally with an attitude and so on. Many immigrant ladies, mostly women who are living abroad, and some of them are very intelligent, having university degree or any other degrees, but that's not the point. What's happening, and I also experienced that when I left with my great university degree to another country, I could not get recognition of my diploma, and people actually were asking me, Warsaw University, what's that? You have no education, you have no school, you are nobody. So it's not only about your personal lack of self-confidence or self-worth, it is the society also that is trained into thinking that if you do not have a certain things means in life, you are a loser. And it is very important to build up your case and have a proper response to those kind of circumstances. So I will just give an example now, because that actually may help someone out there who, and it doesn't matter really what your education is. Maybe you have no education, maybe it doesn't matter. But if you do have, you can always respond, well, I already showed you my education, or I already told you what my education is. It's not my fault. You do not remember and you cannot repeat it. So that's one of the responses. And also, when you do not have education, if you lower about yourself, this is another thing when a predator will feel that and take advantage of that, especially those people who tell you you are nobody. So here again, when you hear that, I actually wouldn't even get into the conversation because it's a waste of time. But if you are forced, if you are forced in it, you can also say something, because I cannot give just one example because every situation is different, really. But you can always say that, to check who the person really is, because you want to have a connection with a human being and looking at you from a different perspective. And actually, I knew someone like that who had his own company, great education, but anytime he was meeting with people like in the bar, or new friends or old friends, and he wanted to check how they think, he was saying that in this other country he does a cleaning job. So after that, if people still talk to him, he knew who they are. If people were saying, okay, see you next time, bro, or something like that, then he knew who they are, and he actually moved on to the next. So he wanted to check and test people. So that's the first thing. You're building up your case. You are getting connected to your subconscious mind, because it won't lie. You can lie, but you cannot lie there. And anytime, considering relationships, when I encountered those, especially those women that were in a very abusive relationship or raped, but they kept coming back, the sort of psychobiology thing is to breathe in back the energy that went to that person. And this, you can laugh, some of you may laugh from it because it sounds like it's very esoteric, but we are also telepathic beings, and we gave attention, so we give our energy to someone else. That means if you have a sense of missing someone enormously after he did you wrong, or she, it could be she too, did you very, very wrong, and logically you know you do not want to come back to that person, but emotionally you are clinging to that person, it's very important to practice breathing in your energy back. You can imagine it as a little sparks, particles of your energy coming from that person's heart straight to yours, and you take everything, do not leave even one particle. What may happen, it's not always like that, but in my practice it happened to a lot of women. So the moment they did that, they did a good job with that. This person came, and after months of not seeing them, and knocked in the middle of the night and begged for a meeting. And even though I warned those women to not open the doors, they did. Most of them did, some of them of course not. But it's not about judging, it's not about saying you did this to yourself, because it's not helping anyone. It's more about those who did not open up. Probably they got into better connection with their subconscious mind, and they started to already support themselves emotionally. So when the predator says, hey, I'm gonna give you all the best in life, we're gonna live together and blah blah blah, the connection to own self would be when you can promise your subconscious mind something better, when you can promise something that subconsciousness will follow you instead of predator. But it's not going to happen before that. So if you're still falling for that, that means your connection to yourself is still weak. You need to work on that. There is a lot of banal sentences that are actually annoying those people more. And I just got a few, like, you know, put yourself together, stop seeing, get divorced, look at the truth. They already know that, and repeating that to them and throwing that into their face, it's not, it just leaves them helpless, more helpless, and not knowing exactly what to do. So the very important thing is to keep refocusing on yourself daily and keep asking yourself a lot of questions, treating yourself as the best friend, just like you talk. Call your friend, call yourself and tell and listen. And if you never did that, of course it's better to do it with a therapist, because if you never did that, the first thing that's going to happen, your subconscious mind, imagine you are heard for the very, very first time. Someone's finally listening and you suffered for long years. It's gonna pour out of you everything, every little bad thing. So subconscious mind will flood you with a lot of bad stuff, a lot of bad emotions, heavy emotions. None of the emotions are bad or good. It's just how we define them. But it's gonna flood you with difficult emotions, and it's better to make sure that you get help with dealing with that at first. Also, it will be a lot of images, so memories from the past will start to hit in your forehead, most likely. So this is how this is starting, but it's starting only because you never listened to your subconscious mind. If you start listening, it will come to the end eventually. So you will need to pour it out for a few sessions, or to yourself, or maybe write about it, or sing a song about it many times, and acknowledge yourself every time. I hear you. I know you are in pain. So you can also use a little bit dissociation from your suffering one, from your little me or subconscious mind, however you call it, in order to have this understanding and become a real friend for yourself. Like, I hear you, I'm so sorry, I don't know how to help you first. I will try to deal with that later when I can. But when you promise something, be sure that you keep your promise, because subconscious mind will act it out, and once if you let it out, it won't give you a break. So I mean, you can keep on suppressing it, but that never ends so well. So that was the first part. I'm not going to get about this part 2, the remedy for the part 2, how to make sure, because this is about studying the law, and this you have to do with the lawyers, with good lawyers, the lawyers that actually know the law, not the one that is taught, because most of them, they were probably programmed like anybody else. So those thinking people who I met, for example, in Caritas, when they were fighting for other people with heart and knowing how the system works exactly and what to do, what is possible. Number 3, I mentioned about knowing your enemy. And I'm not gonna spoil that film for anyone who would watch it in English. I think this documentary will be also an English version. If you take people for who they are, and this is really a bad advice from me to say just take people as they are and move on. No, it's not going to happen like that. But if you got this connection to yourself, that you're falling for, I don't know, guys like this or types like that, or you are very, very lonely, you have to be extra careful. But at least you know about that about yourself. So in these cases, I suggest to keep dating, meeting without doing anything else, meeting in the public places with lots of people. Because in this way you can study people, you can study the case. It's not about testing them, but it is about finding out and learning about yourself actually, and seeing who they really are. your subconscious mind that is lonely will always create an image of someone that is greater. Even if you know that logically, it won't help. So you have to also convince your subconsciousness and build up the case when you see red lights, when you have certain impressions, and your subconscious mind is going to talk to you in forms of visions, images, voices in your head, any kinds of way. Some people can even smell something. It's also happening. It all depends how is it structured within you. So first is to observe and study and taking people as they really, really are, and practicing that, being aware of your environment. So making notes. Is this person, for example, is this person acting nicely only to you, and when somebody else calls, is maybe aggressive? Or what about behavior? What about temperament? You listen a lot, and try at the beginning to listen more than you're talking, because if this is potential psychopath, of course, and you are wounded from the past, there were some traumas going on, he's going to listen very well to what you're saying, how you're saying, where you're coming from, and where are those spots that he will call weak. And there's this book, Psychopaths Are Among Us. And I do not remember the studies about how many of the percentage of how many people daily in the normal times, because now we have kind of abnormal times, how many people on the street daily you may meet that they are psychopaths, but quite a bit number. I was surprised myself when I read that. Unfortunately, I don't remember the number, so maybe some of you will tell me. So study the predator is the number 3, how to not allow for such situations. And for those who are tricked into paying financially, and when someone is really good con man, he can sell you something within first minutes and creates with you an urge to buy it, an idea. He's talking to your subconscious mind. Before you're making a decision, call several more people, maybe your friends, or take into account other offers concerning the financial part. If this is happening with esoteric gurus, or even therapists and specialists, that they have a good, they are well qualified, their website is great, but you're not sure of them, interview at least 3 different specialists, 3 different companies, whatever that is, so you can make notes and sleep with it, and see, do the exercise with lucid dreaming. And for those, of course, who are watching some of the videos, I invite you to watch again if you want to know the precise steps for the lucid dreaming while awake, the symbolism of it, and so on. But there are also other logic steps when you can make a decision based on the logic, because we make decision based on our emotions in the first place. So especially big warnings for me, and this is actually a lot of still cases with Polish people, is when someone says that he's working only through email. You cannot actually talk to that person, but you have to pay money in order to get the session, or not even session. This person will write you email saying, I cleared you out from bad energies and so on. And I'm receiving a lot of these kind of emails, in fact, like 3 days, maybe 4, that people still taking advantage. And I'm not judging, I understand why. If someone has a very difficult situation, and lack of connection to the self, and being not aware, not knowing the shadow parts, this is going to happen, because hope dies last, of course. And I'm not blaming anyone here, and I hope, I'm actually saying that to, even for those people, do not blame yourself for it if that happened to you, because it is an only indicator that you're lacking the connection to yourself. That would not happen if you would have a deeper intuitive connection, and you would find out, you would have a dream about it, you would hear the voice. A lot of people making decision like that already, and I have a good results with that, and I recommend that one. And number one, the esoteric part, why some the this, I actually mentioned that already, why something is keep on repeating in your life. You need to dig deeper into the pattern, maybe psychobiology, maybe sort of hypnosis, regressive hypnosis, because there some people get an answers, but you have to be extra careful with those too, because you not only need to find about credentials of those people. If you do not have any experience with an esoteric, I suggest you study first and see how it looks like, so people can surprise you less when something is off. Like, for example, they may tell like, oh, I clear it out and it's gonna work for 10 days. That's very manipulative way of doing things, because what, after those days you need the session again, you need to pay again. So there's a lot of those tricks that some people may fall for it, because they follow the subconscious mind that is following the hope that is not getting it from you in the first place. So I hope this was precise. One more time, the reasons is the self-valuing, appreciation, lack of self-worth is the reason why we are taken advantage of. I invite you to the story of Oracle, and I based a lot of personal experience there. I put it in those books, and I give it few chapters about that part, how it really works. It's not, it's really not working like you can call someone and tomorrow tomorrow all the problems disappear. It's a work, it's a practice, and everyone at this point is taking responsibility for themselves. And I'm not saying it's easy, I would never say that. I failed a lot, and I'm very much used to failures, and most of the times when I learn, I learn mostly from failures, not from successes. Successes are always pleasant and nice, and you enjoying them, and me too, and all of us. But the failing is for the part that we can correct someone, we can think about something, reflect, and see why something happened. Just understanding of it makes it already easier for us not to forgive when someone took advantage of us. Because as far as everybody's, maybe not everybody, but a lot of cultures are recommending forgive, forgive, forgive. Well, nothing really is lost in energy world. So someone needs to equals the law of nature, pay for it, and there is always a consequences of our actions. So there has to be some sort of making up for it in order to release both parties, both sides of the story. But if you do understand why psychopaths did what they did, you are releasing yourself from taking it personally. It still happened to you, and I totally get that, but you will understand about the dynamic, how their brain is functioning. And of course that was a research about it, psychological, that the brain of psychopath works different ways. For you, it's like you are learning to recognize the pattern, which is hard. I definitely will not say it's easy and you can just spot a liar and everyone who could potentially do you wrong. But it's possible, and you get practice, you get experience. But if you understand the brain of psychopaths is different, they actually get boost of pleasure when they see something nasty, it's completely different, because you can understand how they work and how societies creating sociopaths, psychopaths. Sure, it can be passed with DNA, but history is full of such accident actually traumatizing a child. And now we are touching on the subject of defragmentation of the psyche. You can call it also from the esoteric point of view, fragmentation, the soul or essence of someone, that someone is dissociated from the feelings, so he just does things, but he doesn't have empathy anymore, because it was taken away by the very traumatic experience in the childhood, like seeing a murder, seeing someone raping someone else, and all those nasty things. So this is how they are created in the first place, before that DNA is passed. And also I'm talking about cultures and the communistic countries and all those kind of history raising up, when the history of raising up, for example, in Sparta, when children, boys, were taken away from the mothers instantly after birth, and deprived of any kinds of emotions. They were just forced into it. And we have a lot of those psychopaths in the history, Alexander the Great and all others. And look at all those emperors in China. You can find out a lot. So it is also the society responsibility for creating it. And those who are abused or do terrible things, like women who are actually treating getting pregnant and pregnancy and giving a birth as form of making money, well, that actually happened to them. So it's a form of sociopath. Also, there is a disconnection of the feelings, but to those people you can still reason, while there is no reasoning with predator. There is still reasoning. And in the documentary of Patrick about the devil's eyes, he actually did something great, because by the talking rationally, calmly, even though sure a lot of people may not be calm enough to talk calmly to someone, because if you're going to accuse a woman like that, they just going to run away from it. They still gonna do what they're going to do. But if you talk reasonable and spend time and keep asking questions, it's very likely that this person will change their mind. And this actually lady from the documentary changed hers. And any one of you who encountered or will encounter someone like that, that is very desperate, and people do a lot of things from different reasons, if we withhold the judgment and we reason and see if there is something there, we can enormously positively influence our environment. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope this was helpful. Let me know about it. And once again, pass this to someone who may really benefit from it. So good night, goodbye, and see you next time.